I saw in your last interview that you wanted to. I think you called out Dricus Duplessis, right?
Whoa, 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 whoa! I didn't call out this
No,
guy.
you didn't call him out, or you wanted to
No,
fight him, or you may want something like that.
I can't even remember. I think it was on my millions thing, and
Yeah. Dímelo, mi gente. What's up? And welcome back to another live interview here on Gonzalez Media TV on Millions. As always, I'm your host, Jose G. Make sure you give me that follow on all the social media platforms at Jose G Official. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Gonzalez Media TV. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited for my next guest. He is a familiar face in the UFC, and he's getting ready for a fight in February at the Apex Performance Center and the Batista Oliveira card. We got the one and only Julius Juicebox Walker joining us for a live interview today. What's up, Papa? Happy Wednesday to you, Julius.
Dude, how are you, Jose? Thank you for having me on, brother.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Like I said before we went live, when I saw your name pop up on my list, I got very excited for today's interview. So thank you so much
Let's go.
for scheduling some time with me today, man. But Julius, for the people that haven't been following you, where can they follow you on social media, man?
Yeah, so my Instagram is your favorite juice underscore box. My Twitter/X is your fave juice box. Um, my TikTok's Juicebox MMA, and I got a YouTube channel now. I'm working on it, so just search Julius Walker on YouTube, and
Let's
hopefully it
go.
comes up.
Let's go. And dude, I gotta know the origin of that juice box nickname, because when I think juice box, I think back to the old school high C ecto coolers,
Ooh.
juice box from back in the day, you know?
Yeah, bro. So when I was playing basketball in college, I had a baby face and a little fro, and my coach was obviously an older guy, and he started calling me Juice because he said I look like a young OJ.
That's hilarious.
And then stuff came from that, like juice box and everything. All my teammates called me that. So when I started fighting, I thought it to me in my head, I was like, this seems marketable, so I'm gonna go with it.
Smart move. Smart move, Julius. So, man, I see you started with college and with college
Mhm,
basketball, and you
mhm,
became a fighter. But, dude, you've had a pretty quick ranking up in the ranks in the UFC, man. So,
mhm.
tell me about this transition. How did you go from playing college basketball to being in the UFC and now fighting on the Apex performance card?
Yeah, so my college career ended pretty abruptly. There, I was getting myself into trouble. Found out my first daughter was on the way,
Oh, wow.
and then I was playing at a Christian school, and I
So,
my college career ended pretty abruptly with all that stuff happening.
yep, they
So
frown upon those type of things.
exactly. So after 3 months on the shelf, I was working overnights at a hotel, living with some of my buddies that they worked at Pizza Hut. So I was staying up all night eating pizza and raiding the pantry at the Hilton Garden Inn, quickly gaining weight, not happy. So I thought I would go try some jujitsu. So I hit up one of my buddies and was like, "Hey man, how do you start that jujitsu stuff?" And he said, "Dude, just try a class. It's that simple." And then from there, I tried an MMA class. I got punched in the face for the first time, and I didn't hate it. So I was like, let's do some more of this. Let me get a fight, coach. And I'm just overly competitive. I think I always tried to tell myself that I was doing it for fun, but I'm a competitive person, and once I started to believe in myself a little bit, it started snowballing.
That's pretty cool that you were able to transition, because I've talked to so many different athletes that have had hard times transitioning from one sport to another, and in your
hmm
case, a team sport to a solo sport. What was
hmm
that mindset shift for you like?
So it's interesting, like MMA, it's definitely an individual sport. Obviously, you require a good team, but it's cool because the centerpiece of that team is you, especially after you become a pro fighter. So that's been one of the cool things about MMA is like you can truly focus on it from your own perspective. I think at times in basketball, that's one of the hardest things about transitioning from high school to college in basketball is everybody that comes to play basketball in college was the centerpiece of their high school team. So everything was
Mhm.
focused around them.
Yep.
Then you go to college and you're one of many. And I think in MMA, for guys that first get started off, it's easy for them to keep themselves in that I'm one of many mindset. They might not be the best guy at their gym. Their coach might not pay them the most attention, but I think it's important for guys that are starting off that are trying to get into it. Like, if this is what you want to do as a career, although like you're a part of the team, you definitely have to learn to think of yourself first and learn to approach it from like a what's best for me aspect. Because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, that's pretty before too long. That's all you're gonna have.
For sure, for sure, and I've heard that story so many times of, the high school, basketball player and being the big fish in a small pond, and now
Yep.
you're swimming with the sharks when you're in the college level or even on the NBA level, right? So, it's,
Yeah.
and I think that also translate into professional fighting because
Hmm.
in the amateur ranks you're pinned up against a certain opponent, may not be at the same skill level, but you already know that you're the big fish in that pond. Now you're in the pros in the UFC, and that's a whole different world. You've been doing pretty well. I think you're 1-1 right now, right, Julius?
Yeah.
So what was that transition like for you now that you're in the UFC?
Yeah, so it's interesting, man. When you're on the regional scene and on the local scene, of course, it's a lot of the time it's your friends and family, it's your people, so everybody shows you a lot of love.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare. It's pretty rare that you're going to be getting booed, getting negativity. So that was one of the first adjustment periods. Whenever you reach the UFC, is there is naturally like, as you're on a bigger platform, there's going to be more negativity and you're going to see more negative stuff. I remember like in my first fight, I debuted against Alonzo Menifield in Seattle, and I
Yeah.
quickly shot in and pushed him to the cage and was holding him on the cage for a few minutes. And I probably had him on the cage for like 30, 45 seconds, maybe a minute. And the crowd started booing. And I'd never once in my whole career, that was my 17th fight. I'd never had any of it. I'd never had the crowd booing. And I remember
Wow.
thinking like, "Oh man, is the fight boring? Like, do I need to do something?" And it's just like it's just different, you know.
Yeah.
The crowd is a little bit different than it would be if you were
Mhm.
fighting in your local convention center with your friends and family watching. So
For sure,
that's pretty
for
fun.
sure. Yeah, dude, it's like, I came up in the professional wrestling side of the business. I
Yeah,
trained and I did a lot of backstage stuff, a lot of media stuff, and it's the same, dude. Is like, when you go to the indie shows, these guys, they pour their hearts out and the crowd is cheering and cheering and cheering. You go to a WWE show and you don't perform, they will let you know. They're like,
yeah.
they will boo you out of the building if they don't like you. And it sounds like in the UFC, the MMA fans in the UFC are probably just as petty as wrestling fans.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And this is I'm also dude, I also grew up a wrestling fan. That was what got me into MMA, like, originally, I started off as a wrestling fan, and then once I got to middle school and it wasn't cool to be a wrestling fan anymore, I publicly became an MMA fan while
I never
still
cared what
being
my
a
friends
wrestling
said.
fan.
I was always a diehard WWE wrestling fan through and through. Even when it sucked,
Yeah,
I still repped it, bro.
I love
It
it, I love it.
hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. So talk to me about your upcoming fight you got coming up in February, man. How's training camp going for you? What are you focusing on ahead of this fight?
Dude, I'm feeling really good. The opponents are in Saudi Baldeev. He's also 1-1 in the UFC. We've had kind of like pretty similar. We both came in on short notice and fought a guy. Both dropped a decision that was actually we fought relatively close to somebody that was at the bottom of the rankings. Him being the heavyweight and me being light heavyweight in our debuts, of course. And then we both ended up fighting somebody on the lower end of the division and getting pretty solid win in our second comeback fight. So I feel like now this is another fight where it's like you're taking two guys in here and we're trying to see like who's going to stick around, who's actually going to be a player in the division, and
Mhm,
who might just be, more of an average guy in the division. And I feel like the advantages that I have over him is I feel like I'm for one just naturally I think I'm a better athlete than he is. And I think that I'm more explosive than he is. I think I'll have like a pure physical strength advantage. I think he's gonna obviously be able to keep going and have that like from what I watched of him on the regional scene, he's a guy that keeps coming forward, keeps fighting. He's pretty durable. He's got some solid durability. Like I've watched him I watched him lose a few rounds and come back and win the fight. A couple of his LFA fights that kind of happened. So I think he's one of those guys that even if I come out and win the first round or two, I've got to, make sure I'm staying diligent all the way
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
But I think I can finish this guy if I get on top of him and put the pressure on him good. So we'll see what happens.
So since you are a little bit of a late bloomer to the game, right? You came through it through so quickly. What do you feel is your secret weapon when it comes to once you're inside the octagon? Are you a submission specialist, a striker? What's your favorite? What's your secret sauce, man?
Man, I think really the biggest advantage that I have in my weight class is I am actually a good athlete. A lot of people I think don't really realize like if you watch guys in the UFC, typically you're seeing guys who have probably been a pro for 5, 6, 7 years. Well, I
Hmm.
started training 6 years ago,
Hmm.
and like when I made my debut, I'd been a pro for less than 2 years. So it's like I'm now into my third year as a professional fighter. This is now, I guess, my seventh year training because I started in 2019. So I've only been training a little over 6 years. So I think a huge advantage I have is like every time I step into the cage, I have like legitimately improved from my last fight. Like I'm still early in my career and I'm still growing pretty rapidly as a fighter. I think compared to some other guys who've probably been doing this a little
Yeah.
bit longer or they've been doing it their whole life. And I think the other thing is like I'm naturally adaptable. Like I don't think there's that many dudes in the UFC that can play a bunch of different sports at a high level. I'm sure
Hmm.
there's a few, but like I played basketball in college. I was a all-state soccer player. I know for a fact I could pick up I'd never actually played football, but I watch it and I'm like, dude, I could do that too. But I don't think there's a single sport that you don't give me time to train and figure it out that I'm not going to learn how to do it. So I think I'm a better athlete than these guys, and I think I get a higher ceiling than all of them. So I think over time, if I just stay focused, the only person that can beat me is myself.
Yeah, man. And you are literally a one in a million type of dude because I have never met an athlete who had spent, who started training 6 years ago, had, has only been fighting for 2 years and is already in the UFC ranked 1-1. And that's impressive because just like you said, I've known so many fighters who've been training 7, 8, 9, 10 years on the independent circuit or on the
Hmm.
local regional levels, right? And they never make it. They never make
Hmm.
it to the UFC and they never get that opportunity. And I think because of that background that you have in basketball and just being an all around athlete really separates you from the rest because a lot of the guys that I talk to, they only train Muay Thai, they only train this and that. They've never been exposed to other sports.
Hmm.
And I think that's really what kind of separates you from these athletes. Also, the work ethic from having the team sports and the coaches and all those things.
Hmm.
It's quite impressive, man. And you're just getting started, Julius. What's the end goal for you, man? Obviously, world champ, right?
100%. I think that if you're in the UFC and you're not and your goal isn't to be a world champion, then realistically you're probably now on your way out of the UFC. It's got to be you have to be chasing like in my opinion one thing I kind of figured out is when you set goals you're sort of setting a ceiling. As a guy that like I'm from Springfield, Missouri, which isn't like it's not a small town, but to people from a big city, they might call it a small town. It's a big town, small city type
Got it.
thing where there's not. I'm the only active UFC fighter in the city right now, and we've never had someone like we've had people make it to the UFC like Zach Cummings is from Springfield and Miranda Mavericks from Springfield and Garrett Armfield's from Springfield. So there's people from Springfield who've made the UFC, but nobody's actually stayed in Springfield and continued to train in Springfield and done that. And I think for me, like I saw a lot of guys who say their goal was to make it to the UFC, and I think once I got to the point where that became a realistic thing. I was like, why would my goal be to make it to the UFC? So it was before I even got signed, my
Yeah,
goal was like
right?
I tried to shift that mindset to becoming a
Yeah.
UFC world champion. So that's obviously the goal, grow myself as much as I can and come out of this on the good side. I'm gonna make sure I don't spend all my money. I'm not gonna be one of these dudes that I'm coming on here for my 20th UFC fight talking about I'm broke.
You know what, dude? It's funny that you mentioned that because I help a lot of the fighters with their finances and get their retirement planning all set together. So we
Yeah,
can have that conversation if you want later down the road, man. But
for
it's
sure.
very important. It's very important that not only you stay physically fit and mentally good in the game while you're in the UFC,
Mhm,
but you need to make good business decisions too because
mhm,
now you're your own business. As a fighter, you're your own business. If you
mhm.
don't fight, you don't put money on the table. You don't put foot on the table, right?
Y
So you need to make smarter business decisions, and I think your plan is excellent.
Dude, I'll try, I think one thing that kinda hit me eventually was whenever I finally realized that, like, my most valuable skill is not necessarily fighting. My most valuable thing I have would be my platform. It's not my ability to fight people, it's my platform. So I had to learn to like focus not just on growing my ability to fight people, but on growing my
Mhm.
platform. And we're getting it figured out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's little by little. Rome wasn't built in a day. You got to do it brick by brick, and you have a tremendous platform. UFC, the TKO group. I mean, you
Mhm.
have a tremendous platform, and you have all the resources that you need to as a fighter should. You have all the resources. So I'm looking forward to this fight in February, man. I can't wait to see what you bring to your opponent, man, because it's gonna be fun, fun, fun.
Yes, sir, dude. Hey, and I appreciate you, man, for giving me a chance to grow the platform with yours too.
Hey, let's go, man. Anytime. I saw that we already followed each other on Instagram, so I'm
Yes,
looking forward
sir.
to our next conversation, Julius. By the way, I saw in your last interview that you wanted to. I think you called out Dricus Duplessis, right?
Whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't call out this
No,
guy.
you didn't call him out, or you wanted to
No,
fight him, or you may want something like that.
I can't even remember. I think it was on my millions thing, and
Yeah.
I was looking at it and I was like, "What did I say?" I think if I remember correctly, it was because somebody asked me who I wanted to win when he was fighting Hamzat,
Okay.
and I was like, "I want Dricus to win," and like I'm not even
Oh,
trying to.
see, that's why I'm asking the question.
And I'm not even trying to. This wasn't even me not liking Hamzat. I'll just be straight up, dude. I knew if Hamzat won the title, it would be one title fight a year. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, you know, somebody could he you can they can get offended by that if they want, but I knew these guys they only fight one time a year, so well, I was like, let Dricus win so we can see the belt be defended. But
Yeah.
hey, it is what it is, baby.
I love Dricus because and I've been calling Dricus's fights since he was in the EFC in South Africa.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So I used to do the Spanish commentary for the EFC.
Hmm.
So I've been watching Dricus Duplessis go up some of the beasts out there in EFC, bro. It's crazy. Those they don't have the octagon, they got the hexagon out there.
Dude, that's not it. It looks like a good time. The production of it looks cool. The bright
Yeah.
lights. I like when regional scene. I feel like more of the shows on the regional scene, they should try to do like they should focus more on like cool production, like WWE style, pro
For
wrestling
sure.
style, with like cool stages and whatnot. Because
Yeah.
you can't be the UFC. Don't try to be the UFC.
Exactly, exactly. And I
Right.
I always appreciate that. That's why like dirty boxing right now is kind of
Hmm.
is going viral. Like people are watching dirty boxing. It's
Hmm.
got that cinematic feel to it. If you add some
Exactly.
production quality to it, people are gonna watch it.
100%. 100%.
Well, Julius, bro, I'm not gonna take up too much more of your time, but I really appreciate you hanging out with me today, man. Go ahead and plug your social media one more time.
Yeah, it's your favorite juice underscore box on Instagram, your fave juice box on the Twitter slash the X, Juicebox MMA on TikTok. And man, I really need to figure out what this YouTube channel is. I just search Julius Walker, look for one of my vlogs or something, watch it, go subscribe. Your boy's figured it out, but we'll
Let's
get there one
go.
day.
Let's go, mi gente. Show your support over to Julius Juicebox Walker, not only on all the social medias, here on the platform on Millions as well. And catch him on February 7th, UFC Fight Night on the Bautista Oliveira card at the Apex Performance Center in Las Vegas. Make sure you guys catch him live. And make sure you guys show me some support as well at Jose G Official on all the platforms. Subscribe to the channel, Gonzalez Media TV. Appreciate you, Julius. Take care, Baba. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, bro.
Have a good one.